Mike Ware Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Monday night, everyone. What's going on? I am sorry I'm late. I am coming up here about 10 minutes later than I intended, but when you have a big, kind of reveal at the end of the show, you need to update your thumbnail, and here I am all set and ready to put Randy Orton right there front and center. As soon as he comes out, I was going to grab a screenshot of it, and he never came out. Cody just announced to the crowd and us at home that Randy Orton would indeed be the fifth member of their team at War Games at Survivor Series this Saturday, which we already knew that. Most people had sniffed out Randy Orton. FightFul Select even revealed earlier this week that was the plan. So it didn't come as a huge shock or anything, but I, for one, was expecting Randy Orton to come out, and he did not. So that kind of sucks. But I think what they're trying to do is just kind of hold off his return for Survivor Series. That should be a monster pop in Chicago, seeing Randy Orton for the first time. I was just kind of under the impression that we would see him tonight. I thought they would get the babyface reaction out of the way for him, kind of thing. Like we could all see him and react to it, and then coming out at Survivor Series wouldn't be that big a deal. But now he's going to be the focal point, it feels like, of War Games. Probably going to be the last one coming into the ring, I would assume. And the first time we're going to see him is when he comes out to the stage and gets in the shark cage with everybody else. Well, I suppose, here's the thing. I think Randy Orton will either be first or last. He'll either start this thing or finish this thing. And we'll see how that plays in. Cody and Randy Orton, a lot of history. Jey Uso, very interesting look on his face tonight after Cody revealed who it would be. And he didn't look too pleased about it. So help me out with Jey Uso and Randy Orton history. I guess maybe Orton and Riddle might have battled the Usos a little bit, but I'm not sure what else. So Jey Uso doesn't look thrilled about this, maybe even a little bit concerned. Anybody who's a teammate with Randy Orton, I feel, should be a little bit worried because, of his history and how he tends just to turn on people. So just making sure I can be heard here. So yeah, lots to get into today. By the way, thank you for being here. Welcome to your Monday Night Raw review for November. I'm still in October. November 20th, 2023. We have Thanksgiving coming up in just a couple of days, and then Survivor Series this Saturday, and that's going to be a good one. By the way, we're going to be up here reacting to the whole show live. That link is already up on the channel right now, so you can save that for Saturday. And we'll spend the whole damn day together and watch Survivor Series and stick around for a small little review and recap at the end. I'm also going to have Survivor Series predictions up on Friday. I still don't have a link posted for that yet, but Friday afternoon before SmackDown, we'll be up here to predict Survivor Series the day before the show. So that's what's going on this week. Let me say hi to the chat. We'll kind of get going on things here. What you're going to hear from me tonight is just a little bit of wrestling news and not much at all. I want to run through the results of Full Gear. Of course, I was not here on Saturday to watch Full Gear, didn't come up and do a review. I've seen a good portion of the show now where I can definitely offer some thoughts and opinions on the results that we saw and what it might mean for the future. So we'll talk about that. Then we will review tonight's Go Home Survivor Series Monday Night Raw, which was pretty good, and it was extremely women heavy. You like to see that stuff. I mean, I think in the first half of the show, it was mostly all women. I think we had one match. I think it was Gargano and Ludwig Kaiser. I think for the first 90 minutes of the show, that was the only men's match we saw until we got to Shinsuke Nakamura and Chad Gable. So I believe Nakamura, Gable, Drew, and Jay in the main event, and then Gargano and Ludwig were the only men's matches on this thing. I think we had three women's matches. So it looked like 3 women's matches, 3 men's matches. So it was split pretty equally, but the women got a lot of screen time tonight, including Chelsea Green and all of that. So that was a lot of fun. Enjoyed the focus on the women tonight, something that WWE, I think, is doing very good, really trying to build up some of these women and get them over, something they weren't able to do with Vince in charge. So I think Triple H is trying to get a little bit better of a grasp on that. And I think that, they're featuring them pretty well, and I've been happy. Even the Nia Jackson-Raquel match wasn't bad, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. But that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Raw, Full Gear, wrestling news, that sort of thing. Anything else you guys want to mention in the chat here as well that I might not be privy to? It was a very busy weekend for me, so I'm kind of, I know what happened at Full Gear. I know what happened tonight. I got a pretty good handle on Survivor Series this week, and we're going to talk about a lot of that. But any small little tidbits of news, kind of been out of the loop on that for the last 72 hours. So if there's anything you guys want me to discuss, just bring it up later, and we will talk about it. I'm in no rush to get this done tonight. Elizabeth is off on a camping trip, so I have no one to watch movies with tonight. And y'all want to come over and watch movies with me? I got nothing to do. So I'm going to work on some shit tonight, but I'm in no rush to wrap up this podcast. But I know on the East Coast it's pretty late, so we will not drag our feet too long here, and we will get into business. Let me cruise to the chat and say hello to everybody that was waiting for me. I think I had the podcast scheduled for 15 past the hour. I think I was up here about 10 minutes after that, trying to get my ducks in a row. First, you have to gather your ducks, then you have to line them up. It's a big process. You guys know that. But I want to welcome the channel members first. Let me hit my friend Zane G, Nick Musser, and Zach Palgett, all in the house. OG JJ Leg is also here. Joshua Aparicio is chiming in with a very nice $9.99. Thank you so much for that, Josh. Hey, Greg, how are you doing on this fine Monday night? Also, this is a weird promo from Cody introducing Draymond Green to the War Games match. Also, Tozawa is the best. Imagine if Draymond Green joined War Games. That would be pretty nuts. And I got to say, I was shocked at the end of Raw. I told you guys at the beginning here, I was kind of thinking that Randy Orton was going to come out. And then he didn't. I'm watching the clock at the end of the main event, and I see that Drew beats Jay. There's about 3 minutes left, so we're going to get a brawl. But as soon as the brawl happened and the heels retreated and they went into the entranceway, and I'm like, well, how is Randy Orton going to come out now? If he comes out, he's going to have to make a beeline for the ring and attack all the heels that are standing in his way, unless they just part the Red Sea for him and let him walk by, which I don't think they're going to do that either. So I was already a little confused as how they were going to announce Randy Orton. And then Cody got on the mic and he goes, I have found a fifth member. We did not come alone. And this is somebody that I have a history with. You could say I have a legacy with him. And he said something about Prey and Apex Predator. And then it felt like the show just cut off and it went right to the next USA Network show immediately. And I, for a split second, thought that they ran out of time and missed Randy Orton's return. And then it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, oh, Cody was probably just announcing it. So it wasn't like a Halloween Havoc 1998 situation where they ran out of time. I think this was done on purpose. And Cody just announced that it was going to be Randy Orton. So the first time we will see him will be at Survivor Series this Saturday in Chicago. And I guess you couldn't pick a better building to make your return in than Chicago, which is a great market, always hot. And I think they're going to be very, very vocal for the Viper. And I'm happy to see him back, man. It's going to be good to see him. He's been out of the ring for a year and a half. I've always had Orton's back, even when he was getting the most shit from the fans. A lot like John Cena and Triple H through the years as well. I was always kind of the one on the other side of that. And I'm like, let's not be ridiculous. He's actually a pretty good wrestler. He's developed a great legacy for himself. And I think about a lot of these guys, it's just all about small doses. As long as Orton and Cena and Triple H are not, winning 200 matches in a row and winning on every pay-per-view and beating 10 guys at a time, fans are cool. But once they kind of get, a little bit, winning too much and that type of thing, that's when fans tend to turn on you. I never acted like that. I think that's very weak. So I always just try to make my own judgments. And I've always liked Randy Orton. I've missed him. It's good to see him back. Hopefully he can pump out a couple of more good years here before whatever he decides to do with his career, whether it's a full-blown retirement, he rides off to the sunset, or if he's going to do what every legend does and could potentially come back and have a match in 20 years, we just don't know. We'll have to wait. But Randy Orton is back this Sunday at Survivor Series. I think he's going to be very instrumental in the finish of that match. I think since they didn't even introduce him here, aside from him turning heel, which is possible, aside from him turning heel in the match or something, I don't see how the baby faces lose at Survivor Series. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I got a whole bunch of different scenarios for Randy Orton. Let me continue with the shout outs and hit up the Juliet and Rarely Even chiming in with 5. So they decided not to actually bring Randy out. How epic can his return be now? He can still be pretty epic. It's cool. Even though that shocked me, I don't think it was like the wrong decision or anything. I was just expecting to see him. So I'm not mad about it. I was just like, I thought we would see him tonight. But it kind of makes sense that he didn't, because Cody in the back, he was like, this was like the first hour of the show, he told all of his teammates, yeah, I got somebody I can call. So it would be kind of weird if Randy Orton showed up. Was he really that close? Where were they tonight? Michigan? Where the hell does Randy Orton live? Missouri or something? He wouldn't have been able to catch a flight that quick and be there. So I guess they were kind of teasing you that he wasn't going to be there when Cody said, "Oh, I have somebody that I can call." So maybe that should have been a clue, but I was just surprised we didn't see him. Rarely even goes on to say it's a big multi-man match. They're not going to hit his music or anything. Yes, they are. Everybody's going to have you not watched a WWE pay-per-view? Fuck, even in the Rumble, everybody gets their music played. He's going to get his music played. He's going to come out probably last, come out to the stage, and that's why they might want to milk a little bit more of that return. They might have him start the match. I said earlier that it would be weird if he comes out and just goes right into the shark cage with his other teammates. You know, I think he either needs to start the match or be the last guy in the ring. And since the heels got the advantage tonight, that means, right, a babyface will be the last guy. I think that was done on purpose as well, giving the heels the advantage in the War Games match. That means the final guy to come out is either going to be Cody or Randy Orton, you would assume. It's kind of funny how Seth Rollins who's the champion, is kind of not doesn't feel like the captain or the center of this team at all. It feels a lot like Cody. And with Randy Orton joining the crew, it's going to feel a lot like Randy Orton and Cody are kind of the co-captains of this thing. And Seth is kind of left out in the dark. But I think Seth is going to have some other worries at Survivor Series. And I'm sticking by my prediction, which I'll share with you later. My man, How Weezy, is in the house as well. So is Isaac. We have Rarely Even with 5 more. I knew it was Randy, but how awesome would it have been if it was Dustin? That would have been cool. But Dustin is under contract, and that can't really happen. You got 5 more again. Rarely Even. Thanks. Hey, Greg, here's $5. Say Chelsea Green the way Samantha Irvin announces it, with enthusiasm, damn it. I don't think I can do Samantha's voice. Chelsea Green. Oh, God, it hurts my voice to say that. How funny was Chelsea tonight on commentary? She was great. She said something. I didn't realize she's calling Wade Barrett Mr. Barry. He said something to her. She's like, I forgot what the fuck she said. She was talking about her and Piper, and they're going to be Hall of Famers one day, and Wade Barrett's like, thanks for clearing that up. And she goes, you're welcome, Mr. Barry. You love Chelsea. You got to love her. Spectra and Victor Colon, more channel members in the house. And my friend, Divine Ricks, is here as well. Jey Uso and the Bloodline injured Randy Orton back in May of 2002. That's why Jay had that look on his face like his past is coming to haunt him. Thank you, Divine. That's what I was trying to figure out, because I knew there must have been some history there, but you know, my short-term memory is pretty bad. So anything that happened in the last couple of years, unless it's major, I'm probably not going to remember it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense why Jay was a little bit, and that was kind of the theme of tonight too. Jey Uso, endlessly paying for the Bloodline's sins, and I don't mind that too much. I liked a lot of what Drew McIntyre was saying in his opening promo about Clash at the Castle. I think he should focus more of his energy on Solo Sikoa than Jey Uso, but I can understand everything that Jay did to help Roman in that, first 3 years of his run. There could be a lot of people that he fucked over that are coming back to haunt him, and I don't really mind that little storyline, so that's kind of cool. Population 420 is in the house as well. Zane G, Drew beats Jay clean. Odd, shocking, no interference. Yeah, I think that's okay though. I think him beating Jey Uso clean, I guess, was kind of shocking, especially since it feels like they're moving Jay to main event. But I also think that this is a loss that, number one, Jey Uso can survive. There's no shame in losing to somebody who won the championship at the main event of WrestleMania, beating the toughest motherfucker to ever lace up a pair of boots. I don't think there's any shame in losing to Drew McIntyre. Also, I don't think that this is going to be a loss that we're going to remember, because I think Drew winning here means the baby faces are going to win at War Games, and then something's going to happen after that. And by next week, we're going to forget all about Jey Uso's loss. If there's ever a time where, he could survive a loss and still remain main event Jay, this is probably that type of scenario. Spectra, I'm not sure I think I got you a minute ago. Good to see you in here as well. Do you think they revealed Randy to try to get the discussion off of Full Gear instead of everyone discussing Full Gear into their own PPV? No, I think WWE went through with their plans the way they always have planned it. I don't think Full Gear really had anything to do with it. I think they did probably, though, want to get Randy Orton announced just to cool off the CM Punk rumors, because I still firmly believe CM Punk will not be at Survivor Series. And now that he's not in the War Games match, that's great, because he wouldn't really fit in there. What the fuck would he even have to be in this thing for? So even if Punk came in at Survivor Series, being a part of War Games, why? There's so many stories going on there that he would be in the way. So now if there's some 11th hour contact to CM Punk, hey, why don't you drive on over to the arena? We'll bring you out on TV. Maybe that could happen still, but I don't really think that Punk is going to be a part of Survivor Series. But I do think there's still a big chance that Punk could come to the WWE, in 2024, maybe even a Rumble appearance or something like that. I don't think it's out of the question. I just don't feel like Survivor Series is going to be it. And like I've talked about in a lot of podcasts recently regarding CM Punk and Survivor Series, to me, there's no reason to rush, him. If you got a whole bunch of stuff going on right now in WWE and your machine's running smoothly, don't self-inflict a monkey wrench into that. Let your shit run. You can bring CM Punk in anytime. And if you want it to be in Chicago, you ain't got to wait long before WWE's going to hit that town again for another show. So you got all the time in the world to bring CM Punk in. Plus, who says it has to be in Chicago? Isn't that a little bit played out? I think Punk got the best Chicago welcome anybody could ever ask for in the United Center a couple years ago. I don't think you'll ever be able to top that moment. So I don't need him to come out in Chicago again. I mean, he can come out in Chicago. I just don't need his return to be in Chicago. I'd rather have Punk come out as a total surprise in the Rumble like Edge was, or, maybe turn up the night after WrestleMania and bring the Raw after Manias back, to that level, like in 2012 when Brock came out and, so many great Raws after Manias. That is where I would bring CM Punk back. Keep him away from WrestleMania season. Don't bring in a guy that has a reputation as being a cancerous, force in the locker room, and then bring him in and take a WrestleMania payday from one of your hardworking talents. I wouldn't do that. I'd bring him back the night after WrestleMania and then do whatever the hell you want with him. But if you're going to make a last minute call, I just think that before WWE and CM Punk did any business together, there would have to be some outline plans. It's not just going to be a whim. Hey, Triple H calls up Punk. Hey, Phil, why don't you come down? We'll throw you in a fucking tag team match. No, I would want to, if I was WWE, I'd want to make it clear what our plans are for him. And if I was CM Punk, I would want to know what those plans are. I wouldn't want to just fly by the seat of my pants and just sign a contract willy-nilly and say, okay, do whatever you want with me. I would want some idea of what the plans are before I put my name down on your contract. That's just me. So I don't think Punk's coming to Chicago. Good to see everybody else here, like Brian, Jose, Colin Boot. Who else we got? I think I saw my boy Barry in here earlier as well. Vash Starwind is here. So is Green P. We have Chad Jones right on. Denny Downbad. Good to see you as well. Stephen Harris. Oh, I almost said you again. Decimania. King Azza. Red Raven Rucker. Jay Lambo. Good to see all you guys here. Welcome to your Monday Night Raw review for November. I almost said October again. November 20th. 2023 go-home show to Survivor Series. We are going to get into the results of Monday Night Raw here in just 1 second. Just want to get we have Ray Durazo. Nice. That's some iconic titles in the background. Well, thank you. I have two toys right here. These are I can't do my fingers on the reverse camera. 2 toy belts there, but the ones on the wall behind me are the real deal. So thank you for that, Ray. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. We are like 70 or 60 subscribers away from 40,000. We're like so damn close. A couple of months ago, we would have gotten to that goal tonight. But things have slowed down with the subscriber count, and we might take us another week or two to get there. But we're going to get there. If you're not subscribed, please do smash that thumbs up button for me too, if you don't mind. YouTube really gets on us creators to ask for that. That's why I always do. It's very, very important and crucial, and it helps the channel. And my likes are probably one of the weakest parts of my channel. I do decent views. I've got a decent following. The audience is great. The loyals, the diehards, we've got all that. We need the likes. The likes suck on this channel. So we need to get like 5 times more likes than we get for Greg to be super happy. So help me out with that, and I would appreciate it. I was thinking I was going to start with Full Gear tonight, but I don't think so. I think we're going to stick with Monday Night Raw because a lot of this stuff is fresh in my head, and I want to talk about it and Survivor Series and everything going on with Randy Orton and War Games matches and all that stuff. So we're going to stick on the subject of Monday Night Raw. Then we will circle back and we will talk about Full Gear and any other wrestling news that you want to get into, and maybe even a small preview for this Wednesday's Dynamite or the Continental Classic or anything else we want to talk about as it relates to AEW. We will hit that here in just a little bit. And of course, MJF's mega night on Saturday night at the Forum. It was good stuff. But first, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. The show opened up with Drew McIntyre standing in the ring. One noticeable thing about Raw tonight was no new intro. There's been a lot of reports. I believe FightFul Select was the one that originally reported this, I believe. I've read 2 reports from FightFul Select. Go subscribe to FightFul Select, best $5 you'll ever spend. And they have been speculating that they've been hearing that a new Raw theme song is in the works. And they've got a whole new package here. So it's going to be a new Raw theme and then a couple of little small songs to play for backstage shit or video stuff or match graphics, all that type of crap. So apparently they've got a whole new intro coming in. And I think that's fantastic because I hate, with a capital H, the intro that we've seen for the last couple of years on Raw. It's just not enough energy for me, and I don't believe that the Raw theme song necessarily has to be a rock song. A lot of fans are like, oh, please bring back some hard rock or metal. I mean, you could. I wouldn't be against that, but I don't believe it has to be that. All it needs is something with energy, and something that gets you excited. I don't really care what genre the music is. I care about it not sucking. That's what I care about the most. So whatever this new shit is that they're probably going to debut next week. We didn't get it tonight. We didn't get the old Raw intro tonight either. It just cut right to the ring after the highlight package of what happened last week on Raw with Drew McIntyre turning heel, I guess. And then it opened the show with Drew in the ring and no intro. So my theory is this new intro is going to be saved for the night after Survivor Series, which right after that new intro plays next week, I'm expecting a brand new World Heavyweight Champion to walk out to the ring. But tonight, it was Drew McIntyre in the ring by himself. Basically went on to explain his actions for last week, saying the fans are asking what happened to him. And he's like, I've been the same guy. I've never been any different. And, I kind of think he's right about that. Drew gets a little bit more, aggressive when he's a heel. But for the most part, I think his character and his personality, he hasn't seen big fluctuations in his personality. We've seen some wrestlers who have had a Mick Foley type of babyface innocence to them, like Mick Foley, and then who could also, turn violent and hardcore and scary. Drew, regardless if he's a babyface or a heel, he is pretty much Drew. And I do like that about him. And he really went on to express his disdain and dislike for Jey Uso, says that he's not forgiven him for all the bullshit that happened to him with the bloodline, and how Jey Uso was a big reason why the biggest moment of his career was taken away from him. I personally think it's Solo Sikoa, but Jey Uso, he's got some heat for that because he was involved in the bloodline, and Drew blames Uso and his family for taking that moment away from him at Clash of the Castle in front of his family, in front of his friends, in front of his homeland. And he took that very, very personally. And he also said that he's not joined Judgment Day. He wanted to make that clear. I'm not a member of Judgment Day. And I'm kind of glad because they already have their heavy, in Damian Priest. And I think having Drew in there would cause some problems, as we would see backstage later. So he said he's not in Judgment Day, but he is on their team at Survivor Series. And that's when Jey Uso comes out. But before he can get very far, Judgment Day shows up to back up Drew McIntyre. And then all of the baby faces come out as well, one by one. What a fucking motley crew, man. Seth comes out first, dressed like a crazy person, as usual. Then he's followed out by Cody Rhodes, who looks like he's ready for a nice wintertime dinner right in the heart of Manhattan at a 10-star restaurant with the coat and the suit. Even I'd fuck that guy. Then Sami Zayn comes out, who looks like he's on his way to a flea market. That was pretty funny. So they all come out there. They're face to face in the ring. Jey Uso still taking time to flirt with mommy. Gotta love that. Adam Pearce gets in the ring, starts screaming at everybody again. He's been very mad lately. And he says, look, motherfuckers, here's what you need to do. You have until the end of the night to reveal your fifth teammate. So he's only giving them till night's end. You would think that Adam Pearce would give them, until Survivor Series. What if he gave them to the end of the night tonight on Raw? That's Adam Pearce's rule, right? By the end of the night, you need to announce your fifth man. And then Cody makes that call. And he gets no answer because Randy Orton fell asleep early. He took an Ambien and ate a hot dog and he fell asleep. He doesn't get the message until tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., at which time he texts Cody back. Yeah, brother, I'll be there. And then Cody calls Adam Pearce. I heard back from Randy Orton. He said that he can be a part of the team. And Adam Pearce is like, sorry, I told you you had to the end of Raw last night. Too bad. So I feel like Pearce can be a little bit irrational sometimes with some of these decisions. But he basically says that babyfaces have until the end of Raw to announce their fifth man. And then we got some backstage stuff from both of the teams. We go backstage and we see Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre kind of coming face to face. First, Priest talks to Rhea and he goes, look, I think it's a good move that you brought Drew McIntyre into the team, but as the leader, don't you think you should have talked to me about this before you brought him in, which is a very valid point. You know what's another valid point? How come this conversation didn't happen at catering today? You had all fucking day to talk to Rhea about this, and you wait until you're live on air with a camera in your face? Seems weird. So I just kind of love in wrestling how you have to have these conversations on camera sometimes, because in reality, you would be like, couldn't this be handled via text, or during the day when you both get to the arena? Oh, hey, what's up? Little fist bump. How you been? How was your night last night? Good. Hey, by the way, I should have mentioned to you, next time you want to make a big decision, can you talk to me first since I'm kind of the leader of the Judgment Day? And then Rhea can be like, yeah, of course, big man. And little fist bump. I'm going to go get changed, getting hair and makeup. See you out there. But no, we have to wait until the show is on and they hash all this laundry out in front of us. So then McIntyre comes into frame, and they have the main event match tonight, which is going to determine the advantage at War Games, and neither team has really picked a guy yet. So I guess it's Priest who wants the match. Priest wants it. And then McIntyre comes in and says, well, as good as Damian Priest sounds in the main event, you know what sounds better? Drew McIntyre. I can't do his accent. So the funny thing is during that exchange, I'm farting around over here. I'm typing, and I forget how it ends. So all I know is Priest and McIntyre are having this conversation. At the end of the conversation, it must have been agreed upon that Drew was going to go out there. I just didn't catch how all that happened. Then Cody's team is backstage, and that's when Cody reveals to Sammy and Jay and Seth that he has somebody in mind, because Sammy says he knows somebody. He goes, oh, yeah, I know somebody. It was implied that Sami Zayn's talking about Kevin Owens. Seth Rollins says he knows a couple of people, maybe Moxley or something. I don't know. And who the hell else is it? And Jay ain't got nobody. He can't call Jimmy or Roman or nobody. So they all kind of say, yeah, we got some people in mind or whatever. And Cody's like, I have someone and an old friend that I think I can call, and I think he'll come through for us. So again, that was kind of weird too. I kind of assumed that Cody had already figured this out. I still don't know what he was doing in Nick Aldis's locker room on SmackDown. I didn't watch SmackDown last week, so I'm kind of out of the loop in that. But I know that Cody was there talking to Nick Aldis, and maybe the belief was he was there to recruit a SmackDown person over to the Raw team, like perhaps a suspended Kevin Owens, since Becky is now on the War Games match in the women's side. It would have been a nice trade that would have actually made sense, because when people flop brands without explanation, it really makes me irritated. So I would have accepted that deal between Pierce and Aldis to swap for one night to get a Raw talent over here and a SmackDown talent over here to round out the War Games matches, no problem. But Becky was the entrant for the women, and it didn't turn out to be a SmackDown person, unless Randy Orton perhaps is under contract to SmackDown, but I don't think he is. So Cody says that he's pretty sure that this old friend is going to come through. So that should have told us that there's a very good chance we're not going to see Randy Orton come out tonight physically, because Cody said he still has to call him. And, unless Randy Orton just happens to be hanging around in the backstage area, then he's probably not going to be on the show. I don't know why I thought he would be. So that was all the setup for what we saw in the main event, which we'll talk about later. The first match on Raw was Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez. Pretty good stuff here. I mean, these two women are big and they're strong, and they beat the shit out of each other. And it was not horrible. Nia Jax got the win with the bonsai drop. I don't know why WWE thinks I'm going to call this move the now and later or whatever the fuck it is. But it's the bonsai drop. That's what it always will be. And Cole, if you keep calling it something else, I'll pay you a visit. So that was good. Nia Jax beat Raquel Rodriguez in a match that I didn't hate. Of course, I think it was Nia Jax and maybe even Drew McIntyre. Both of them had to go through the nonsense that WWE does all the time. It's like during the the production of these shows, you have somebody come out, make their entrance into the ring, then you go and do a 5-minute commercial break. Then when you come back from the commercial break, you either go backstage for another backstage segment or you show another fucking highlight package or something. And then you cut back to the ring and cue up Nia's music to make it sound like it's been playing the whole time. And this can go on for like 5 to 10 minutes sometimes. And I feel so bad for these wrestlers that have to stand out there like idiots for so long, just jacking John with the crowd or whatever, just standing there, probably in a dark ring because they usually dim the arena lights when shit's playing on the Tron. So she just has to stand out there the whole time. And I think the same thing happened to Drew in the main event later on. So Nia Jax got the win there. Then we move into another women's match, Becky Lynch versus Xia Li. They set this up over the past couple of weeks. I thought the match was okay. It wasn't bad. Crowd was getting into it for a while there. Props to Becky. You got to love the Beckster, who is really seems to be going out of her way, to work with as many women as possible, especially ones that she hasn't worked with before. She had that stint in NXT, won the NXT title, had a chance to work with a lot of women. Seems like Becky really, really kind of cherishes being the veteran now that she's been doing it for, she's only been on the main roster for 8 years, but at this point, that's a pretty good resume. And by now, she should be pretty seasoned with knowledge to pass on. And her and the rest of the 4 horsewomen, are really going to be looked at as the nucleus of what is modern women's wrestling, I feel like. And that's why watching everybody work tonight and seeing what the women would do later on really makes me want to see the 4 horsewomen reunite in WWE. I'm sure Mercedes might pop into AEW and possibly sign a contract there. If she does not, and they bring Sasha back in, I would love for there to be either a 4 horsewomen faction. It's going to be hard to pull off with all those champions, or a 4 horsewomen War Games match, maybe next year against the new breed. What if it's Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley against Rhea, Bianca, who the fuck else? Tiffany Stratton, perhaps. Why am I feel like I'm missing a major person here? Rhea, Bianca, Tiffany, some other up-and-coming young buck or buckette in the women's division, it can kind of be the old guard versus the new guard, something like that. And it would be really great if we could get that 4 horsewomen WrestleMania match that we've all been waiting for. And it's too bad that Sasha Banks is not in WWE because I think we can all see a scenario coming up. I don't think it's going to happen at War Games, but I think real soon on TV, we're going to see Damage Control attack Bayley. That is coming 100%. And I think it would be really cool if they just beat down Bayley, like beat her down, and then maybe she's saved and picked up by Becky and Charlotte. And it would be really cool if Sasha was there, to kind of pick up Becky, dust her off, and say, we got you. And, there's that love there, even though you might fight with your sister and your brother, sometimes they're still your family type of thing, like that type of vibe, and maybe they band together and, try to take out these menacing heels. I don't know. It could be like Io Sky is another one I'm thinking of. Yeah. Io and Kyrie and Bianca and Rhea or something like that. Or even throw Raquel in there. Maybe some stronger women, would be great to opposite the 4 horsewomen. But seeing Becky out there and Charlotte kind of back on the same page made me think about all of that, especially when Bayley is so close to being booted out of Damage Control. So Becky and Xia Li was okay. Manhandle slam for the win. Good match. Xia Li, incidentally, has got a championship match on NXT tomorrow night. And Laya Valkyria, I can't say her name. I keep wanting to say Valkyrie. It's not Valkyrie. It's Valkyria. Is that the fuck it is? Anyway, her. She's defending the title against Xia Li tomorrow night on NXT. So I don't know how smart it is to beat Xia Li the night before her championship match. I would have done this match next week and paid it off then. So I don't know. But anyway, manhandle slam for the win. Damage Control shows up. And They come through the crowd. They look to be surrounding the ring to attack Becky, but Charlotte, Shotzi, and Bianca show up immediately as well and get attacked, and the baby faces are able to run off Damage Control. So, when I look at these two teams, Damage Control is pretty fucking strong. You got Bayley, Asuka, Women's Champion Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. Babyface side, very strong-ish. Bianca, Becky, Charlotte. Unbeatable. Shotzi. What is Shotzi doing there? One of these things is not like the other. I love Shotzi. She's cute as hell with her little haircut and the solidarity with her sister. Love all of that. Love the tank. Love her energy. But isn't a main eventer. I'm sorry. So her being in this match, and correct me if my thought process here is incorrect in any way, she's the one that's going to take the loss. She's going to be the one to either surrender or pin, whatever. How do they do it? Do you pin or submission, right? Or surrender or what? It's going to be Shotzi. I think the heels are going to win, and I think Shotzi's going to be the one to take the loss. Also, it is kind of nice to see Becky and Charlotte side by side. Does anybody know the deal with those two? Anybody know if they've, patched things up from their little tizzy that they got in a couple of years ago? And I got to say, that stupid belt swapping shit was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in WWE. That makes me cringe every time I watch it. It made me so pissed off at both of them. Kind of more Charlotte than anything else, because she just seems like she's got a fucking attitude. And the way they were just clashing like that, I was like, God damn. And I understand that there's like a rivalry there, and all that. But given that they are such a big part of what the women's division has become, over the last 8 years, transitioning from the divas to actual women's wrestlers. Even with Vince there fucking shit up and dropping the ball on a lot of people, I still think they've handled the women's wrestling over there pretty good. They've had credible workers, good matches. It's not the way it used to be. They've done a great job. And it's nice to see that we might be entering that next generation. We got the Biancas and the Ripleys, and this new crop coming in that WWE's doing a great job with. I can't say enough good things about the women's division in WWE. A lot of women's representation on the show tonight. But Becky and Charlotte, I kind of hope that they patch things up, because you would think they should be friends, in real life. And I hope that enough time has passed now to where all that bullshit, that went on, it's kind of stupid to carry those vendettas. I feel like Charlotte probably didn't even really get a chance to meet or hold Becky's daughter, because of the issues there. I just feel like when you start families and you're both very successful professionals with a lot of money, what's the point in even having a rivalry, at this point? But, they are probably going to be the 1A and 1B of, this generation. And I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. It'd be a good Twitter poll or a YouTube poll. Are you team Becky or team Charlotte? Between those two women, which one do you like better? I personally like Becky. I'm not a massive fan of either, but I think I like Becky more. I feel like I just might like her as a person more. I don't know why I have that assumption, but I just feel like she's a little more down to earth and maybe just a touch nicer. Charlotte's very nice and, professional. People have great things to say about her. I just think that my gut, my heart of hearts tells me that Becky would probably be the easier person to get along with. And plus, I like her better. And I don't know how far the rivalry goes, how many championships they're going to win, how many main events of WrestleMania they're going to be in, who's hotter than the other, that type of thing. If all that exists between them, maybe. But I just hope that they're at a stage now where they realize that stuff's stupid and you should be friends. So I hope that they're friends. I hope it's not like a proud and powerful situation where they're just working together and they're cordial and professional, but the minute they leave that arena, they hate each other's guts again. I hope it's not like that. I hope whatever's going on with them personally, both of those women, I hope it's better. Ludwig Kaiser defeated Johnny Gargano. Ludwig annoys me. They had a backstage thing where Ludwig insists on calling Gunther the General. So he's talking to Vinci, and I think he tells him to stay out of the match tonight. He goes, I got to face Johnny Gargano. stay back here, but all Ludwig-y. And then you go out to the match. Vinci did not pay attention to that and came out anyway, offered enough distraction for Gargano to hit the one final beat and get the win. So Gargano steals one there against Ludwig, and now Ludwig's pissed even more at Vinci. Backstage, Gunther reams out Ludwig some more and praises Vinci. So there's just all sorts of dissension with the Imperium guys. And I think that, if they're going to continue it with them, that maybe their dissension is what could lead to Gunther losing the title. Now, I really don't want him to lose it to Miz, even though we're about to talk about a splendid segment between the two of them. I still don't want it to be the Miz, but Gable would be my pick for that, and book Gunther versus Gable at the Rumble or somewhere, and book it in a way where, Imperium is out there and they start fighting with each other, and it causes enough maybe distraction for Gunther to have his eye off the ball a little bit. And then, I don't want to see full-blown cheating or breaking the rules or anything, but maybe just a little bit of a distraction on Gunther that allows Gable to hook a move or pinning combination or roll him up or something, and get the win and win the IC title. That's what I would do. And then maybe Gunther disbands Imperium. I don't think he really needs to be with these guys if he's going to move on to main event stuff. I feel like he should shed these dudes, and maybe that's what they're setting in motion here. Maybe that's the seeds that they're planting. Eventually Gunther is going to get fed up with them, and if they cost him the Intercontinental title, that might be enough to say, I'm done with this shit. I'm going after the big prize, the World Heavyweight title, Roman or Cody or Seth or whoever the fuck the champion is, and you guys get out of my life. And that's it. That's what I do. So we'll see if that winds up happening or not. Then after that, we had a Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag #1 Contender match. And I believe later on in the show, there was a segment where they set basically the same thing up next week for the men. Do I have that right? There's a tag team title match on SmackDown this Friday, actually. So I forgot who the teams even were. It's Natty and Tegan. It's Catanzaro and the other one. And it's Candace and Indy. And I think Ivy Nile, and who was she teaming with? I forgot. Anyway, Natty and Tegan got the win here. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were on commentary, and Chelsea is superb. And she even said, she goes, it doesn't really matter who wins this match because I'm just too busy. I can't defend the titles. She's just so good. I mean, this woman makes the most out of every minute she's on TV. And I've liked her right from the start. The minute they brought her in, if you can go back and find the podcast when she debuted, I think I was all about it right from the start. I mean, the second debut, she was there earlier, let go. She had a couple matches on Raw, didn't do anything, had no character to her at all. But this is right up there, honestly, with Toni Storm. Except Toni Storm is a main eventer and Chelsea avoids matches as often as she can. They're equally entertaining. I feel like Chelsea Green is just as entertaining to me as Toni Storm is in AEW. And Toni Storm's doing great right now. But Chelsea is funny and entertaining in a completely different way. She's not out there, the world champion or anything, but she's just as crazy. And I love it. She was a lot of fun on commentary. Good for Natty and Tegan, who I felt like they were setting up for a tag team run, a tag team title run. This feels like it's kind of come pretty quick. And now they're going to do this, maybe next week, although maybe not. Chelsea, what I would do is I would not do this match next week. I would have Chelsea stall as much as she can to build this match up. Because I wouldn't be against Natty and Tegan winning the tag team titles. I really like Tegan Nox. She seems like a sweetheart. She's been through hell. Natty, is kind of your mama bear there in the women's division, and she's just been looking smoking lately. I don't know what she's been eating, but it's working. And I'm kind of liking them both right now. So I am cool if they want to strap them up, but Chelsea has been so entertaining with these titles. I wouldn't just throw this match on Raw next week and do the title change. I would have Chelsea stall, make up excuses, fake an injury, whatever she can to where Pierce finally is like, you ain't getting out of it this time. Get your ass out there. And that could be 3 weeks from now, or build it up a little bit to where, they're probably just going to do 1 week. This wouldn't be a 3-week build. But I'd say maybe next week don't do the match. Maybe try to book it, but then have Chelsea stall or whatever. And then Pierce will eventually be forced to force her to have a match and defend the titles, at which time Natty and Tegan could get the win and maximize the moment. That's what I would do with them. Then it was time for Miz and Gunther on Miz TV. Maxine Dupree. How did I forget Maxine? Girl did the worm. She's one of my favorites right now for many reasons, but I do love Maxine. I think she's adorable. I love it when she gets excited. The little one from Chase U on NXT cracks me up too. Like her and Maxine especially, just their energy, when Maxine hits a suplex and she's like, yeah, I love that. Girl cares. That goes a long way with me. So yeah, Maxine's the best. We're big fans of hers. Miz TV and Gunther, this was pretty damn good, I have to say. I haven't been that critical, but I haven't been enamored with Miz getting the title shot against Gunther because I don't feel like he's a real threat to Gunther's title. And if Gunther did drop his title and ended his long run to the Miz of all people, who I think would win the IC title for the 8th time, he's already won this shit 7 times. It would just not be the right person to me, but the thing is, sometimes WWE can change my mind. And what I saw in this segment tonight gave me sympathy for the Miz. How hard do you have to work to actually make Miz a sympathetic figure? But Gunther was really running him down. You were bullied in school because you idolized wrestlers. Then you became a wrestler and you got bullied here because you don't belong in this sport. I mean, just really running him down to where the point where you wanted to see the Miz kick his ass. And he did. Brawl ensued. Gunther, I think the reason he went down here is because he was wearing those stupid pants with the skin tight shortness and no socks and the dress shoes. That's his problem. Got to stop wearing that. And Miz was able to catch him with the skull crushing finale, put him down, and the fans were happy about it. Miz got a very positive reaction. Miz has been getting praise and compliments from everybody in the wrestling community. I've seen a lot of positive comments pertaining to the Miz. And so I guess I have to admit being wrong on this one. It was just, to me, when Miz first turned babyface, and I'm like, okay, so he's just going babyface again. Like, we've seen it. We know what it is. And I'm not excited about it. And I'm even less excited about him getting an Intercontinental title shot. So what I have to give praise to WWE and The Miz and Gunther for making me give a shit, because now I do, even though I don't want and don't think Miz should win the title, even though I did have some sympathy for Miz. I don't have enough sympathy for him to where I want him to win the championship at Survivor Series. It doesn't go that far. So at least they're making us care. At least they're making you think that Miz actually might be able to pull off the upset of the century here and win the Intercontinental title. I just don't see it happening. But Miz got the better end of the stick here. And plus, a lot of times before a pay-per-view, if there's a title match and the challenger does the thing where he holds up the belt after he beats you down and, on the go-home show, generally that's a good indication that you're going to lose. So this was Miz's moment here. He's not going to get this moment over Gunther, hold up Gunther's title, and then beat him for the title at Survivor Series. Come on, man. Miz is going down. But it was a great segment, and I got to give both guys props for that. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Chad Gable. Didn't pay much attention to this match. Shinsuke got the win with kind of a roll-up. He kind of sat down on a cradle move there by Gable and reversed it, and was able to score a quick pin. We might be getting a rematch on that one. And I'm still hoping that Gable, even though he took a loss here, I'm still hoping that Gable can get back to that Intercontinental title. They had a really good thing going there with Gunther and Gable, and I didn't want that just to be a one-time thing for Gable where he had, momentary brush with greatness and then right back to doing what he's doing. No, do this rematch, run it back one more time, and give Gable the fucking Intercontinental title. Please, WWE. Please, Triple H. And then in the main event, we had Drew McIntyre taking on Jey Uso. This was for the War Games advantage. So the winner of this match, their team would get the advantage in War Games, meaning that they would have, after you start one-on-one, they would get the first guy in and have a 5-minute period there where it's a 2-on-1 advantage. So this match was okay. Kind of a clean win here for McIntyre. Puts down Jey Uso with the Future Shock. Didn't even do the Claymore or nothing, just hit him with the Future Shock DDT for the win. So Judgment Day now will get the advantage. And when the pinfall happened, of course, we're all expecting Randy Orton. I'm eyeballing the clock here. We got 3 minutes until the show is over. And they brawl, and the baby faces are in the ring, and I see Cody reach for the mic, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I was thinking they would be brawling, and then Orton's music would just hit, and he would come out and maybe enter the brawl. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then when Cody grabbed the mic, and the heels were all in the aisleway, and I'm like, well, Cody's not going to introduce Randy because he's going to have to come through Judgment Day, and they're probably not going to let him through. And there's 1 minute left in the show, and then Cody says he's got a partner, and it's somebody he has a legacy with, and you're the prey, and we've got the apex predator, and lets the cat out of the bag. I'm not even sure if I heard him say Randy Orton's name. I think he did, but it ended so abruptly. Like they were right on the line with time there. As soon as the words were out of Cody's mouth, boom, the feed was cut to the point where I actually thought they screwed up. I thought maybe they ran out of time and Randy Orton's return was missed. That's what I thought. It was a Halloween Havoc 98 type of thing for a second there. And then I realized, no, they probably meant to do that. And the first time we're going to see Randy Orton will be at Survivor Series, which is why I think since they're saving his return for Survivor Series, he's either going to be the first guy in or the last guy in. He might start the match, but then he's going to have to start 2-on-1. So that's another thing you have to think about. Now that you know because it's not like a coin flip. Now that you know who's going to get the advantage, somebody has to volunteer for the baby faces to start. And I think it's going to be Jay. I think Jey Uso should start. He's the one who fucking lost to Drew. So I think Jay is probably going to start 1-on-1 with someone, and then it's going to be 2-on-1 there for a while, I guess, because I mean, you'd want to put ideally your biggest guy in there, but they don't have a Drew McIntyre or a Priest on that team. I mean, they got a Randy Orton, but everybody else is not huge. So yeah, it might be Jey Uso. I don't know how the baby faces are going to work that out. How do you discuss that? Hey, who wants to be the one to take a 2-on-1 ass whipping for 5 minutes? Ooh, me, I do. That would be fun. It sounds like a lot of fun. Mike, yes, I did notice Jay's face during Cody's announcement. And I asked you guys about that earlier, and you informed me that, something went down last year with Randy Orton being taken out by the bloodline and stuff. So Jay, I think part of his character right now is understanding that he's always going to have to be worried about paying for the bloodline sins. You don't just wash that off. There's a lot of people who were affected by what the bloodline was doing, specifically you and your brother and your cousin. And they might be looking for a little payback on you. So I kind of like that because, the bloodline has been around for a long time, and they've done a lot of damage. So I could understand, and I like that they're playing into that Jay kind of knows, not everybody's going to like me over here. So I think it's cool. Oh, Miz has been champion 8 times already. It'll be 9th. Holy crap. I thought I heard Cole say it was 8, but it's 9. If he wins, it'll be 9. Okay, so he's already won 8. It will be 9. Crazy. I'm reading some of your comments here. I want to make sure I didn't miss a super. No, I think we're good on that end. All right, good. Right on. So yeah, that wraps up Monday Night Raw. We're going to be predicting Survivor Series this Friday. So I'll put a link up for that. It'll be 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. We'll come up just a little bit before SmackDown goes live, and I will predict the entire War Games card and what I think is going to happen. But as I've been mentioning in every podcast, and I'm not saying I'm right about this. I'm not like trying to harp on this because I want so badly to be right about it. I'm thinking from the perspective of a fan of Damian Priest, of someone who likes his work and thinks he's been doing a good job. And he's running around there with a Money in the Bank briefcase right now. And the Crown Jewel, a lot of people are like, oh, he should cash in. And I'm like, I don't know. It's Crown Jewel. Roman's got a defense on the show. There's a lot going on. I don't know if I'm doing it there. I would want Damian Priest cash in to either be, in the final segment of a Monday Night Raw, on TV where he's the last thing you see, or a main event of a pay-per-view. And here we have Survivor Series War Games that is literally set up so perfectly with all of the all of the requirements that Greg, needs for a championship to change hands are all there. There's no other championships that are taking the spotlight away from this. Roman Reigns is not even on the show. Gunther is not going to lose to The Miz. Rhea Ripley is not going to lose to Zoe Stark. Those championships are in no jeopardy. You have a War Games match in the main event. The champion is in this match, along with the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. And there's so many variables here. McIntyre just went to the dark side. Randy Orton is going to be joining Cody, but we don't know Randy Orton's true intentions either. This is the Viper. This is the guy who will turn on you out of nowhere. It's kind of his thing. So can you really trust that he can be reliable in that? What if there's some, that miscommunication I always complain about when wrestlers accidentally hit each other and they get all pissed, like they don't understand that sometimes things like that happen. What if there is an accidental shot to Randy Orton by one of his own teammates and then he gets mad and then just hits Seth Rollins? Like, what if Seth Rollins accidentally hits Orton and then boom, he hits an RKO on Seth Rollins or something like that? Or maybe that happens after the match. Maybe Randy Orton just RKOs Seth Rollins for no reason. Takes him right out after the baby faces win, because I think the baby faces will win. And then after the match, maybe Randy hits an RKO on Seth Rollins as the baby faces are all out of the cage already. And then maybe he shuts the door and locks it and then stands there and just pushes his hand out to a Priest. There you go. Dinner is served. And Priest is kind of looking around like kind of shocked. Okay. Hands the briefcase to the referee. Bell's underway. Priest picks him up. Whatever his finisher is. And new champion. And Priest closes out the show holding the title. It doesn't have to be Randy Orton to be a part of this. Randy Orton's probably going to remain babyface through this, but don't rule out him turning heel. I think that's possible as well. So with all those variables, it just feels like even with the babyface team winning, which I think they will, I think Cody isn't going to lose the first time he's in his dad's match. I just don't feel like he is. I think he should gig. I think it'll be fun. Just this once. Come on, Triple H, please. So I don't think the babyfaces are going to lose here. Plus, Drew won tonight, gave them the advantage. So I think it's going to be a situation where the face team is going to win, but then the heels are going to win even bigger at the end. The faces are going to win the battle. Heels are going to win the war. And Damian Priest could close out Survivor Series as the new World Heavyweight Champion. This is where I would do it. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not guaranteeing you it's going to happen. I don't know. I'm not in WWE creative meetings. But when I'm thinking of the ways I like to see championships change hands, when I look for all of the variables to be in place, I don't like to rush them or hotshot them or shoehorn them in. I like them to have their own kind of focus. And what better way to do a cash-in when you're already in a violent match? The champion is vulnerable, as are you. A lot of people brought up a good point that Priest could just get injured in the match. And that's something they should think about doing, because the previous times that Priest has had an opportunity to cash in, I've said they better do something that makes him incapable of cashing in. And that's when Ripley took the briefcase from him and then Sami Zayn stole it. Remember? They kept doing shit like that. So if they don't want Priest create internally in WWE, if they're not ready to pull the trigger on Priest yet, then you need to do something in War Games that kind of takes him out of the equation in terms of a cash in. Injure his leg, something like that, to where he's really not in the position to cash in, and it's not really going to be a threat. Otherwise, we are going to fucking see a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion at the end of Survivor Series. I'm convinced it's where I would do it, and I hope it happens. So we will find out if I'm right or not. What do you guys think? You like Priest as a face than a heel? I don't know, man. I kind of like Priest as a heel. I think Priest will go back to being a babyface at some point, and he'll do well. But I do really like his heel work. He's just very good. I really like the command in his voice. He's got good size to him. You know, he's a Razor Ramon Undertaker type of clone-ish, and I like that. And I think he's, very good in the ring. And I think Triple H has always liked him, and they wouldn't put the briefcase on him if they didn't intend on making him champion. I think he's already like 40 years old, so it's not like they have 10 years to play around with this guy. If they're going to make him champion and get some mileage out of him as a world champion, this is where you got to do it. This is where you have to do it. So I don't know if I'm alone on this. I don't know if everybody's calling out the same thing I'm calling out, but I've been pretty adamant in the last 4 weeks that this is where I would do it. I would do the title change at War Games. Yeah, Max, remember when Priest jacked up JD on the wall? It was fucking awesome. Like the end of Home Alone when they hang Kevin on the door hook. It was awesome. Let me recenter myself here. I didn't realize I was all out of whack. But I think we need to talk a little bit about Full Gear now, because unfortunately I missed Full Gear on Saturday because I had a very expensive gig that I had to cater and I had to miss the show. Sometimes these things happen. If I really wanted to be home and watch it, I could have, but it would have been stupid. It was one of those things to where I just needed to work. And Full Gear was at the LA Forum. I had every intention of going to the show. I've already been to a couple of shows up there already and was looking forward to being there. And then things started happening at work and I'm like, I better hold off on tickets. And it's a good thing I did, because as it turns out, I wouldn't have been available to go anyway. And then I would have had to sell my tickets, and that would have been even more painful. So not only did I not go to the show, I didn't even watch it on pay-per-view. So I only have the results and all of the highlights that I saw, which I did see a lot. I've seen a good portion of the pay-per-view. I understand what happened. And so I'm just going to kind of give you my recap thoughts on it. But, we're not going to talk in detail about too much because I didn't watch the pay-per-view. It's the first AEW pay-per-view that I didn't watch and I didn't buy. I thought about just purchasing it anyway and watching it, but I didn't really have time to watch it yesterday and all of that. And by then it's like, why pay the $50 at this point? So I didn't even bother ordering it, but I've seen enough clips and I've seen good portions of the show from YouTube and Twitter and just seeing a lot. So I understand basically what happened. So I felt like we should talk about it because it sounds like they delivered a hell of a show here and all the matches seemed to really come through and deliver. And it was just a really, really solid pay-per-view, even though some of the booking was a little bit, some of it didn't make sense, but that's part of wrestling fun, So in the Full Gear, the 0 Hour, they had Eddie Kingston defeating Jay Lethal and Claudio defeated Buddy Matthews. And then MJF and Samoa Joe were defending the Ring of Honor tag team titles against the Ass Boys, and they are successful. I kind of thought there might be a chance that Samoa Joe could just screw over MJF. Maybe AEW wants to get those Ring of Honor tags off of MJF, unless the plan is really for him to hold those until Adam Cole comes back. Keep his promise that he's going to hang on to the titles for him, which I think they should do. And it would be even a bigger dagger in MJF's back if Cole does turn out to be the devil after all of that sacrificing MJF did for him. So after the match, I think Joe leaves and the Guns attack MJF. They Pillmanize his leg, injuring him. And they have to take him out in like a stretcher or an ambulance. And Adam Cole, by the way, showed up. He was there with a big beard. He looks like he's been sitting around at home a lot. And MJF is telling Cole, don't let them take my title away. Don't let them take my title away. So then later on in the pay-per-view, they have Shivani. I think he's in the ring, right? And he's about to award Jay White as the new champion because MJF is going to be unable to compete. He's got a broken leg or whatever. So Jay White is going to win the title by forfeit. And that's when Adam Cole comes out. And this is where shit starts to come off the rails a bit. And he says that he talked to Tony Khan, and Tony Khan has agreed that he will take the place of Max tonight. So Max can't wrestle because he's injured, but Adam Cole can. You're replacing one one-legged man with another one. Am I missing something? I can't be the only person saying, oh, that makes total sense. I mean, Adam Cole has not been physically active. He has not been working out. He's been doing rehab, I'm sure, on his leg, but his foot's still a mess. He can't do anything. He could get severely injured, even worse than MJF would if he was in there. It'd probably be the best bet just to stick with MJF. If one of them had to be in there, it should be MJF, not Adam Cole, who's on crutches, has bedhead, and looks like, he hasn't been putting on that spray tan shit either in a while. So I don't know why Cole would be allowed to be in this match. That made no sense. But I did think it was cool that Cole was in LA because I attended Dynamite back in January when Adam Cole made his debut. made his return to AEW after all that time off. And that was an awesome crowd pop. Great moment. I got a video of it. It's on my YouTube channel somewhere. And I'm glad that he was able to be present for this Kia Forum show. And I think it would be cool if they kind of brought Cole out during his injury, a couple of times on pay-per-view, but maybe not every week. So the main event, we get to the main event. AEW, credit to them, they even take the time to change the match graphic to Jay White and Adam Cole. I thought that was a really nice touch. And in a lot of ways, it was smart. Some of the booking didn't make a lot of sense with Tony Khan agreeing to let Cole be in the match. That was ridiculous. But when you think about this match, it's been, Jay White has been a massive underdog. He's already been running around with that title for months or weeks anyway, and he's been holding it, and nobody thinks that he's going to win it and stay champion. MJF is going to win this. Betting odds were all, favoring MJF. Every YouTuber who does predictions predicted MJF to win this match, and there was really not too much doubt about it. So AEW tried to create that doubt. They tried to make you believe that MJF could, in fact, drop the title tonight, because not only is he, as of now, not in the match, but if he is in the match, he's going to be severely disadvantaged with that bad leg. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, I wasn't home, but I think a lot of people knew that MJF was going to show up in an ambulance. It's not, I wouldn't say overdone, but it's a trope that we've seen before and we recognize. So I think a lot of fans just assumed that before the main event started, Max would show up in dramatic fashion, Stone Cold Steve Austin style. And that's exactly what happened. I think they even have Adam Cole in the ring about to actually have the match here during introductions. And that's when you hear the sirens, camera cuts to the back, ambulance pulls up, MJF hobbles out, and he comes to the ring and actually has the match. Adam Cole sticks around at ringside. Jay White and MJF absolutely tore it up in this match. I thought it was fantastic what I saw of it. And then Adam Cole he had a couple of missteps here where he nearly cost MJF. I think they're doing that on purpose. And he has the diamond ring, and I think he goes to hand it to Max, but Jay White grabs it instead. Jay White puts on the diamond ring. He goes to hit Max with it, but boom, big low blow to Jay White. He goes down. Max takes the diamond ring off of Jay White, puts it on his own finger, blasts him in the fucking face, and wins and retains the championship, celebrates with Adam Cole. It was a great moment, great match. MJF, watching him work as a babyface now, he's doing a lot of dives and crazy shit, which is fun, which he did not do when he was a heel. And babyface MJF is so much more enjoyable than I thought he would be. I figured that at some point he would have to go babyface, and he would probably have, that Rock kind of babyface love, but I wasn't sure if he was quite there yet. I think he needed to run as an asshole and a douche a little bit longer, and it wasn't just overnight either. It was a slow process here with Adam Cole, slowly starting to trust another human, open up a little bit. It's not like one week he's a dick and the next, week he's Mr. Rogers. It's been a transition here, and I think it's been done really well. It's great character development for him. People say AEW doesn't have stories. They've got some good ones. It's not all shit over there. They've got some stuff worthwhile and worth watching for sure. And a lot of the stuff surrounding their champion right now, who I think is really the biggest part of their show, as it should be. And this is a homegrown guy, mostly. I mean, MJF has gotten all of his exposure for the most part in AEW and a little bit in MLW, but for the most part on a national stage, it's been All Elite Wrestling. And he's maximized that opportunity, and got himself more money. And according to House of Wrestling, that was the little bit of wrestling news I was going to get into. Apparently, from their sources in WWE believes that MJF has quietly re-signed with AEW. There's been no talks or no feelers or anything like that, no communication whatsoever between either side. And a lot of this talk about MJF going after the big free agent money, might just be more of storyline than reality. And that's what I've said. I said that, I think, over the summer. I said, MJF is probably going to re-up with All Elite Wrestling, and I would just quietly do it because this is where his bread is buttered. He has such an opportunity here to build a crazy legacy for himself. He's going to be an AEW Rushmore guy, when it's all said and done. And he's so young. How old is he? 11? He's got all the time in the world to go to WWE 5 years from now. Here's a match. I should put this on Twitter so there's a record of it. I say we get Will Ospreay versus MJF at WrestleMania 47. Remember that, just in case it happens. We got 7 years. Will Ospreay, MJF, WrestleMania 47. Maybe for a title, maybe for not. But they're going to wrestle at WrestleMania 47. So MJF's got all the time in the world to get to WWE. If I was MJF, I would continue with AEW, and I think that it would be a no-brainer to do that because he's already the champion over there. He is in legacy building mode right now. Tony Khan is going to pay him whatever he has to keep him around. Rocking your boat at this point, at this stage of your career, there might be another stage in your career where rocking the boat might be necessary or helpful, but not now. I would stay right where you are, and I'm inclined to believe those reports from House of Wrestling that he probably has re-signed. If I was Tony Khan, I would want to get him signed, and if he was going to leave or test free agent waters or has given me any indication that he is going to jump to WWE, I'm getting my fucking belt off of him. So the fact that he's still, running hard and being booked like an absolute superstar is another indicator there that he's sticking around. Now, a lot of fans thought that this match made Jay White look weak. I do not. MJF is, he fought this match on one leg. Yes, maybe that's a little bit ridiculous, but Jay White, had a pretty good program here with the world champion. Jay White main evented a pay-per-view. I think Jay White could now easily transition to go after the TNT title, perhaps win the Continental Classic. A lot of other things he can do. And I didn't really think of it along the lines of how it made Jay White look. I don't think it's really going to damage him in any way. I don't think anybody expected him to win the title anyway. And he was a heavy underdog. But maybe the silliness of it, the ridiculous permission to let Adam Cole fill in for him, and then him coming back in the ambulance and, winning the match on one leg. So what? It took the ring to do it. It's not like Jay White lost clean, really, right? I mean, didn't it take a diamond ring shot to get this done? So I saw some of those criticisms online, but everyone that I saw and I read the reason why, I didn't agree with the takes. I was just like, I don't see it that way. Maybe some people do. I personally do not. I thought it was a great main event, and MJF, he's doing some great work, man. He's been impressive from the very beginning. He's had some great top-level storylines in AEW, the matches with Cody, the matches with CM Punk. That's when you knew that this guy was, he's the real deal. And then they put the belt on him 1 year ago. He is 365 and counting, 368 and count, or 367 and count, something like that. He's had the title for a while, and I think that's awesome. He's now the longest running AEW champion in history. We'll see how much longer he holds the title. If I had to guess, next possible loss for him could be Revolution, or could be earlier, could be World's End. And that's an interesting name, World's End. What does that mean? Feels like a lot of chaos to me. And MJF is being targeted and hunted by every predator in that locker room. And it might come down. We talked about this, I think, a few weeks ago, where another December match that happened all the way back in 2000 at Armageddon with Kurt Angle. And he had that Hell in the Cell match with 5 other main eventers. And he survived. Maybe it's something like that with MJF, to where he's got to take on Samoa Joe and Wardlow and everybody all at once. I don't know. Plus, there was no Devil reveal at Full Gear, which some people were upset about. Not me. I didn't think we were going to see the Devil. I didn't even really factor the Devil into the predictions. It was going to be okay with me if we didn't get a reveal there, because I think if it's going to be Adam Cole, then we have to wait on this reveal. It can't be in LA. Maybe they wanted the Devil to make an appearance or something to throw the fans off the trail that it wouldn't be Cole, but I'm okay with not giving anything regarding the devil, because it feels like the payoff to who the devil is still way in the future. So if it's way in the future, I don't think it needs to be focused on every single TV. You can take a TV or two off, or maybe even have the devil not appear for a month and then show back up, and just always make sure it's there in the back of the fans' minds. That's what you're going to have to do if the plan is for it to be Adam Cole, because you got to wait until he's healed to be the devil. And plus, who are the henchmen and what's going on there and what are the motivations? So we'll get more of that. I didn't consider it a ripoff that we didn't get anything like that on the pay-per-view, but then again, I didn't buy the pay-per-view, so no ripoff for me. First match on the pay-per-view was actually the six-man. Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, Sting taking on Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. I know the finish of this saw Christian bail out, and Edge wound up pinning Luchasaurus for the win there. Did Christian and Edge get physical at all in this match? Anyone know? How was it in terms of that? Their one-on-one match is coming up. I feel like World's End would be a good place for that. But if they wanted to push it all the way to Revolution, they could. But I think that night, too, is going to have a lot to do with Sting. That's why I think like maybe MJF wouldn't drop the title there at Revolution. That pay-per-view might want to be remembered for Sting. I don't know. Just depends. But I feel like Christian and Edge or Christian and Adam could be a good World's End match if they wanted to do that. As expected, Orange Cassidy did in fact defeat Jon Moxley. So I'm glad I changed my tune about that, because when the match was first booked, I was like, oh, they're just course correcting here. Moxley called the audible, got hurt, lost to Phoenix, who then passed it back to Cassidy. Now Moxley's back on track to get his championship back and run with the international title. I wasn't thinking about the fact that what was probably planned the whole time was for Moxley to beat Orange Cassidy at All Out, and then Orange Cassidy to win the belt back from him at Full Gear. But since they had the mess up in between, they went along with the match. It's just now it's a title defense for Orange Cassidy instead of OC challenging. And of course, on Wednesday on Dynamite, you saw Moxley no-selling the Orange Punch. And I'm like, okay, that's going to play into the finish somehow. And I changed my tune and I predicted Orange Cassidy to win. In my predictions, I turned out to be right. It took 6 Orange Punches and a beach break to get it done here on Moxley. And Orange Cassidy retains the international title. I almost forgot the name of it for a minute there. And will continue his role. Oh yeah, we're getting there, Mike. We're getting there. Anybody who has not smashed that thumbs up button, if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And please subscribe. We're scratching the surface. We're like right there on the ceiling of 40,000. Just need a few more. Tell your moms. All right. After that, we had Toni Storm defeating Hikaru Shida to regain the AEW Women's title. I was very happy about this. I didn't see a whole lot of this match. I know Luther was out there. I know Toni Storm stuck a very obvious like metal pan or something in her ass trunks that she used to nail Hikaru Shida with the hip attack and win the title. Mariah May came out with some flowers, and Toni Storm was very happy to win back her title. You know, some people wondered with her character like this, the whole reason why she became this character is because she lost the title. That first promo on, I think it was Collision, where she was back there acting all kind of nuts. And we immediately took notice of that. We're like, ooh, that's kind of good. That can be fun. They ran with it. She's gotten super over. Now she's got a title shot. She wins it back. Obviously, they're not going to stop doing this character because it's working. But I almost worry now that she's the champion. Well, she can actually, I changed my mind. She can do some fun things trying to hold on to that title. I think Toni Storm can be really creative with this character and the lengths that she will go to preserve her championship. So that can still be fun. But with a character like that, it's so fun. Does it need the championship? In this case, I say yes, because the women's division in AEW is a weak point for them. WWE showed tonight on Raw how they booked half the show as women. It was 3 women's matches, 3 men's matches, and there was a hell of a lot more women featured than men. And that's crazy. Where in AEW, it's like, they just stick them in where Tony feels like it. So since the women's division already is an issue, I think, that needs some work in AEW, I would put the belt on my most over and best talent that I have. And that's Toni Storm. She is the one, I said this months ago, that even over Britt Baker, I think Toni Storm is the best piece of talent that the AEW women's roster has in terms of the complete package. Somebody who can wrestle, has a good look, and has a great character. And Toni Storm has a great one right now, and she is the best they have. So I would make her champion, and they did. And she needs to be champion until, I don't know, Britt Baker comes back and takes the title from her. So congrats to Toni Storm. I need some clarification on this. So Renee Paquette was backstage with Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston says that he's going to be in that Continental Classic tournament, and he wants to put both of his titles on the line in every tournament match he's in. So how does that work? If he loses, I don't really know how round robin tournaments work anyway, but is this implying that the winner of the tournament will also have the New Japan Strong and Ring of Honor World title? The belts will somehow make it to the finals, or could Eddie lose the titles early in the tournament, but those people still don't go on to win the tournament? I don't like this. I'm just going to say I don't like it because I think it's confusing me a little bit. And I think they've also said that they're going to have a championship made for the tournament winner, like a belt. So is this going to be some unification? I mean, how can you unify New Japan and Ring of Honor titles? I don't even know what this means. So it might just be a fun little thing about the tournament. Eddie is nuts, of course, and he's got his, he wants to put his titles on the line. I'm sure that can be fun. I think I'm just having difficulty understanding what it even fucking means and why you would even want to do that. You should focus on this tournament being prestigious in its own right. Maybe that's just a way to add a little extra little piece of fun to it. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. I'll reserve comment on that till I know more about it. Ladder match, tag team titles on the line. Absolutely Tall got the win. They beat FTR and the other teams in it, which I don't even have written down. But I know Big Bill and Starks did retain, and I did predict that as well. I think so far I'm perfect in my predictions in terms of the matches that I've talked about, but I don't stay perfect. I got MJF right, I got Edge, Sting, and Darby right, Orange Cassidy right, Toni Storm right, I got the ladder match right. Here's one I got wrong. Julia Hart defeating Chris Statlander and Sky Blue to become the new TBS Women's Champion. I think this is fantastic. I talked about her in my predictions, and I said, look, I think it would be a bit premature to put the belt on Julia Hart, especially when I'm already predicting another women's championship change on the same show. I didn't think it would happen on the same show. So I said, I feel like Julia Hart's time is going to come, but Statlander is going to win this match. But if Julia Hart did pull off the upset, I would be fine with it, and I'd be thrilled for her, and I am. And this wasn't that bad from what I could see. You know, the finish was Statlander hitting her the Saturday Night Fever on Sky Blue, and then Julia comes in, knocks her out, and takes the pin on Sky and wins the championship. So that's a finish that's very common in triple threat matches, and it's a good way to have a champion lose while protecting her at the same time. And that's another thing I said in my predictions. I said, don't discount Julia, because one thing you have to remember, this is a triple threat. So if Tony Khan did want to belt up Julia here, you can beat Statlander without beating her, and that might be why Sky Blue is there. And Julia Hart is your new TBS champion. She's the youngest champion in AEW history. I think that's terrific. Her character work has been great. She's been getting over. AEW apparently likes her. They're trying to run with this too. So we're seeing bubblings of potential greatness here. It's all about how you capitalize on this. Toni Storm and Julia Hart are two really, really nice additions to the AEW women's roster of the past few months. So I worry that this might have been a little early, but Julia's great. Might as well strike while the iron's hot. And we'll see if there is going to be any sort of faction that she might create, because she spit some shit in Sky Blue's face, and there's a little transition happening with Sky Blue there. I'm not even sure if she's wearing the hat out to the ring anymore. So we'll see what happens there. But Julia, is the new AEW Women's TBS champion. That's fabulous. Then we get the big signing. It was advertised. Tony Khan said that at Full Gear, one of the most respected and best wrestlers in the world has come to terms on an agreement with AEW, and that person will sign their contract at AEW Full Gear. A lot of speculation on Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay. Goldberg's name was tossed around. Even people like Dolph Ziggler, who it can't be him anyway because the 90-day shit's not up. So I predicted in the predictions that it's going to be Will Ospreay. He's the one that made the most sense. The way Tony Khan worded the tweet, it didn't feel like this is going to be some brand new name. And we know that Will Ospreay is a highly sought after, or going to be a highly sought after free agent when his contract is up in February of next year. And we even speculated in the predictions that, because a lot of people were like, well, how can it be Will Ospreay if he's still under contract? And I'm like, well, AEW and New Japan have a working agreement. I'm sure some conversations could be had there and some concessions could be made. We already see Will Ospreay on AEW TV all the time. He's had a bunch of matches there. So if he makes his intentions known to his employer, hey, when my contract is up, I'm going to go to AEW, which means I'm going to kind of still be here anyway, because as long as we're working together, I can still make appearances for you. So would it be cool if I just signed with them now? Like, give me the freedom to negotiate the deal, so to speak. Maybe that wasn't a real contract he signed on Saturday, and maybe he technically can't sign his deal until his New Japan deal is up, but he can come to terms on a deal. So maybe this allowed him to negotiate with Tony Khan. I think Ospreay has retained Barry Bloom. I think he's a Barry Bloom guy, so Barry got him the deal that he wanted. Apparently, he's not even going to have to relocate from the UK. He's going to be able to stay there, which is great. Those are probably back-breaking flights once or twice a week, which has got to be madness. But being able to not have to uproot his family was probably very attractive. The money, I'm sure, is very comparable to WWE because Tony Khan is swimming in money. And I felt like AEW was the better home for Will Ospreay. I have no doubt WWE would take Will Ospreay and make him a massive star. Huge fucking star. I'm a big fan of his theme song too. I just like it. So just thinking of that in like a WrestleMania entrance, because when I saw his All-In entrance, I really liked like with the pyro on the outside of the building. And I kind of thought, I'm like, man, imagine this guy, having a fucking match at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins or something. It would just be killer. It would be killer. So if Ospreay went to WWE, I'd be perfectly fine with that, because I know with Triple H in charge, he's not going to Vince this guy. Triple H is going to take care of Ospreay, and I feel like Ospreay is primed to have a career at least as successful as AJ Styles. What AJ did in TNA, Will Ospreay can do here in AEW. 5 years from now, when he's 35, he can go to WWE and have a career there if he chooses. And I feel like he's the best in-ring worker in the world today. There's lots of great workers, like in Seth Rollins and Danielson, and great workers all over the place. But I just feel like Ospreay is the one when I think about guys like Danielson and AJ Styles especially. He's just one that I'm looking at and I'm saying that these guys are going to be very similar. I think Will Ospreay is, quite frankly, on a different level than Ricochet. I feel like he's more of a main eventer. He has more command in his voice with the bruv and all that. He's just great. And he's matured, because back, 8 years ago, he still was a little baby face. He still looked a lot like Nick Wayne, but now he's filled out. He's gotten bigger, more athletic, and he looks more of a man, and he's great. I remember about a year ago, I just went down the Will Ospreay rabbit hole and spent a whole night on YouTube. And I was just like, this guy's fucking phenomenal. And I always knew he was good. I've seen a bunch of his matches, but I've never really studied him, and I'm like, oh man, he's my guy. So I've been very, very pro Ospreay for over a year now. And I just feel like he's the future. He is a guy that I think can still have a big time Hall of Fame career in both companies. I think Ospreay, you have to consider the fact that him and MJF one day in the future could go to WWE. I don't think anybody's going to be one company for life. I just think the business is too different, and things are going to happen, and opportunities, people are going to get other opportunities, and they could just bounce. But in terms of the present, Will Ospreay and MJF being in AEW is where they both need to be. And I think Tony Khan is not stupid. And I think that he understood the money he's paying Will Ospreay. You don't have to worry about maybe them doing what with Ospreay, what they did with Wardlow or something like that. I feel like Ospreay is going to be a major player. Kenny Omega is another name that, he reminds me of a lot. And I think signing with AEW is the way to go. Now, of course, this has sparked some exhausting debate on social media, as usual, because the tribals are out en masse for this one. The only thing this comes down to is who Ospreay signed with, because he signs with AEW and you get the comments like, oh, is it really that big of a deal? Signing the best wrestler in the world. What do you guys think? Is that a big deal? No? Is that a big deal? He's not a big enough star? Not enough people know who he is? Well, wait, motherfucker, people will. What the hell do you think the point of signing with an American-based national TV promotion is? Is to get him that exposure, and look at what they've done with MJF. There's plenty of room for success in AEW with Will Ospreay. I think they signed him and are going to treat him like a main eventer, not like Commander. So it's a very big deal that he's there. And he is a main eventer, and he's going to prove that to you. If you're a fan of AJ Styles, you can't not be a fan of Will Ospreay, Like, how can you sit there and have AJ Styles as your banner on your Twitter page and then throw shade at Will Ospreay for not being a big enough star? Are you fucking high? Of course he is. And I think he's going to prove that to everybody. What a great and exciting talent he is. And I'm a big fan. So I wish Will Ospreay nothing but the best, but I would never downplay his signing just because he signed with the company that fans on the internet have convinced me not to like. It's so fucking stupid. What is the point of that? If Ospreay signed with WWE, these same people would say, oh, Tony Khan really dropped the ball, must have been doing too much cocaine, and he lost Will Ospreay to WWE, and they're going to turn him into a megastar because he's a great talent. Oh, he's a great talent all of a sudden. Because if he would have signed with AEW, it's not that great. So it's so easy to spot. Tribal fans are so fucking transparent. They're clear. You can just see right through them. It's so easy to spot a tweet with nasty intentions or bad faith because they don't know how to control their emotions. And they look like morons when they sputter out nonsense about a company they don't like because they are just programmed to downplay any news that comes out of there. No matter how big, whatever, man, they didn't shut the fuck up for weeks about the all-in attendance. And I'm like, are we really nitpicking a few thousand here? Or are we just going to say, holy shit, 75,000 plus people showed up to a non-WWE wrestling event? That's a pretty cool accomplishment. But no, it's all about being all up Tony Khan's ass for touting his numbers. Oh, he's lying in the turnstiles and blah, blah, blah. This is what you care about. This is what matters to you. Trying to find dunks where there are no dunks, trying to downplay shit that not the dumbest person in the world would do, all because you're a tribal bitch. Man, oh man. Like, is it really that hard to envision Will Ospreay in AEW and Will Ospreay in WWE and say, you know what? Both would be awesome, because they both would. But no, tribalism and the bias will just completely cloud and flood your brain with a river of shit and make nothing make any sense. And you just see that all online, the downplaying of blah, blah, blah is not a big deal and nobody cares. Somebody today on Twitter told me that, that's a shame that he signed with AEW because, WWE could have put the machine behind him. And AEW doesn't have the ability to do that. What do you mean? The WWE machine. So in your mind, not being WWE discredits a wrestling company? That's pretty short-sighted, if you ask me. And that's what a lot of fans do. The tribal ones, they start pointing at WWE's numbers. SmackDown did 2.4 million. Look how many people WWE draws. We know which company's bigger. The fact that you have to remind yourself of that and whack off to that type of stuff every day is kind of weird, wouldn't you say? Everybody fully grasps the fact that WWE is a much bigger, broader, global brand than AEW. AEW is 4 years old. WWE is 60. WWE's had decades of success. Their brand is out there and cemented and dug into the fabric of this world like never before. It is not up for debate. We know which company is number one and which company is number two. But the fact that this is what the WWE content has done to fans, not having any competition for 20 years, has programmed them to believe that if you're not WWE, you're shit, that you don't even matter. Some people like NBA. Some people prefer college basketball over the NBA. Ask how many of your friends. Maybe I'm biased, and I'm not biased, but maybe I have a different perspective because I lived in North Carolina for so long. I lived right there on Tobacco Road, right in the middle of Duke, Carolina, NC State, Clemson, Wake Forest, college basketball country. I didn't have one single friend that preferred the NBA over college. Everybody preferred college. It was more exciting. The games are faster. They're different than the NBA. All sorts of reasons why they preferred college basketball over the NBA. They're both basketball. One's the NBA, one's college. But they're both exciting. And they both know how to play the game. And a lot of these college players are going to go to the NBA. And that's even not a very good comparison because one's amateur and one's not. AEW is not amateur. AEW is picking from the same wrestling talent pool that WWE is. They go after the same talent. There's a bunch of people in WWE who used to be in AEW and a bunch of people in AEW who used to be in WWE because they're all pro wrestlers. So it's not even amateurs and pros. It's pros and pros just working for different companies. And because AEW is smaller in scale, in a tribal fan's mind, that discredits them as not being a good place to work. Tony Khan's a fucking cokehead, idiot, moron. Do you really think that Adam Copeland and Jon Moxley and Danielson and all of these people would work for this guy if that was the case? Yet Johnny Fuckboy Bunch of Numbers in his uncle's basement with all the weird sex toys, he's mad at AEW for reasons that are just plain made up. Because he got a stick up his ass. So the tribal shit came out a lot with the Will Ospreay signing, and I was laughing at it for the most part because I'm like, what the fuck? It just does not matter. The AEW could announce that they signed Roman Reigns and bring Roman Reigns out there, and the fans would be like, he was never that good. They would. He wouldn't be able to be Roman Reigns there, I guess. He'd be Joe, whatever. So they'll downplay anything, and it's a comedy at this point. So it doesn't matter whatever AEW announces. Sometimes Tony Khan says, hey, I got a big announcement, and his announcement sucks. But sometimes his announcements don't suck. They're great, but it doesn't matter because they're always going to be downplayed and criticized no matter what because of the company that comes out of. But you can have two wrestling companies. It's okay to have one bigger than the other. I don't consider that a dunk. I consider that obvious. To point out that WWE is bigger than AEW is a weak way to make yourself feel good, And I don't understand why fans do it. We all know what's going on here. So that's my little rant on Ospreay and the AEW tribalism. Let's move on to the gnarliest goddamn match I have ever seen. Holy crap. Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland, Texas death match of the night from everybody that I saw. It went overboard to some. Some fans I saw had a problem with Swerve and Hangman Page because it was just way too violent. And I agree, drinking the blood, that was awesome. That was awesome. Here's why I'm going to defend this. Because it wasn't violence for the sake of violence. I think we can all agree there have been plenty of times in AEW where sometimes there's just a little too much blood. Sometimes the blood is unnecessary. Sometimes Jon Moxley is just bleeding when he makes his ring entrance. And having violence for the sake of violence, I'm not a fan of. However, if you have a storyline where there is a home invasion involved and you have a man standing over the crib of a baby of another man, and you're in his home uninvited, taunting you, saying I could basically hurt your wife and child anytime I want. if anything, warrants a bloody, violent, blood-drinking match, this would be it. And one of the first things I said when we got the home invasion, I said, if Hangman Page does not turn into a murderous maniac, this is going to fall flat. It all hinges on his reaction. It all hinges on how he reacts. And I don't think Seth Rollins and Edge pulled this off as well in WWE at all. And I think Hangman really did a good job. That promo last week was amazing when they couldn't touch each other, and then Hangman attacking him at the Revolver show. That was awesome. And now we have this match, and they used everything in the book. We had staple guns early, just staple gun. I think Swerve was staple gunning himself. God damn. And we had broken glass. We had barbed wire. We had cinder blocks. We had that spot where the blood is dripping off Swerve's face and Hangman drinks it and lets it. Oh my God. Super gnarly, but super awesome. And that's the thing. Like, it's all about the context of what this is. If this was just a match, a hardcore match for no reason, these guys had no storyline, I would say, okay, this is stupid. This is some XPW or, some extremely violent, pointless death match, backyard type of wrestling shit. But it wasn't. This, this is the type of match you would expect from two guys that have the issue that they do. So that's what makes it necessary, I think. Now, Hangman Cage, Brian Cage showed up. He got involved a little bit. Hangman got a hold of Prince Nana. He's trying to dance his way out of it, but unfortunately gets dead-eyed through the table. That was pretty good. And then the finish was basically a surprise. I predicted this match wrong. Cinder block to Hangman, exploding the cinder block onto Hangman, and then Swerve wraps the chain around his neck and hangs him from the top rope. And he goes down, and then he can't answer the 10 count. And Swerve gets the win in the Texas Death Match, beating Hangman Page again. I had this one wrong. I thought Hangman would have to get the win here. But this was booked in. This is such great character work. Watching the blood on Swerve and watching him thrive on it, that crazy look in his face, even though I predicted this match wrong, I'm happy we got the outcome here, because this is telling me that Tony Khan has real confidence in Swerve, and we've been talking about him being a main eventer basically ever since he got there. It's nice to see that this feels like it could possibly be a reality. And I think that once you get there, there's a lot going on in MJF's life right now, but maybe Swerve is the guy to beat MJF. I think he's a great heel. MJF's a great babyface. That would be awesome if Swerve Strickland won the title. He'd be the first Black AEW champion, happening pretty early on in their legacy. And he's somebody that they basically made on their own. He came over from WWE, but all he had with him was really his talent and his presence. He didn't really have enough of a run in WWE. He didn't really hold any titles. The Hit Row thing was very, very brief. And I think he took it personally when they released him, because Swerve to me comes off as someone who understands and knows that he's a main eventer. And he knows that he should be treated like one. And when he was released by a company that he knows he could easily hang with the biggest of big boys there, I think that bothered him. And apparently when they called him back, he said, fuck off, and then ratted them out to Tony Khan and said, hey, WWE's been calling me. So he wants to shove this in their face. He wants to show them what they got rid of. And that's going to be, he's going to go down as being one of WWE's biggest fumbles. He is. Because they didn't handle him right. But, in WWE, we're seeing the same thing. They took Cody and corrected some mistakes with Cody, even though some of Cody's AEW mistakes were self-inflicted. They turned Cody to a megastar almost instantly, where he felt like anything but when he was in AEW. Jade Cargill, she's yet to get in the ring, but they brought her in and featured her as a big deal. And Jade Cargill is someone who wants that exposure and wants to be on the biggest stage possible. And like we talked about earlier, WWE's big, AEW's relatively small in comparison. So naturally, WWE's going to be where you want to be if your goal is to get the most exposure for your character. If your goal is to have the best matches you possibly can, maybe that's going to be an AEW thing for you. It just depends on what your personal and professional goals are. And that's what's great about having two companies. And that's why the tribal fans are an absolute tumor on the wrestling business, because this gives talent options of how to direct their careers. And you have to feel good that wrestlers have that option. And motivations and personal goals and where you are in life varies from person to person, man to man, woman to woman. And you can now balance that and leverage that against, who or with who you think you should sign with, and list the pros and cons from both. I would be very happy if I was a top tier wrestler right now, because I know that I can always go somewhere else. And that's a good feeling. And that's not only good for the wrestlers, it's good for us. And we've had WWE only for the last 20 years, and why people reject having two wrestling companies is never going to make sense to me at all. It's something that's always going to bother me, because I just don't understand how fans can be so fucking dumb and wrapped up in their own meaningless personal vendettas with some dipshit with 11 followers on Twitter. I don't get it. I don't get it, never will. The last match we haven't talked about yet was the Young Bucks beating the Golden Jets. I'm sorry, the Golden Jets beating the Young Bucks, had that wrong. So the Young Bucks did go down. I picked them to win because I kind of thought they would. Felt like they're completing the heel turn process, and they're in LA. Kenny and Jericho, I don't even know why they're really together, but now they beat the Bucks. They get that title shot. Now I feel like Kenny and Jericho could very well beat Ricky Starks and Big Bill. I think it could happen. After the match, Matt Jackson throws the Jericho on Nitro temper tantrum with the chair on the ring post, goes nuts. They have quit being the Elite, so that's all storyline, and it feels like they're going to be taking some time off TV to further this. So when the Bucks come back, they might have a different attitude, definitely going to be heels, but might even have some different motivations. We don't know. And I feel like what they could do is stay gone for a while. Golden Jets could possibly beat Ricky Starks and Big Bill for the championships, and then Bucks come back and beat them and win the titles again. We could see that. Overall, home run show from all accounts, from what I could gather. Anybody on social media or who I follow who's not an idiot had all sorts of good things to say about this. I think most people acknowledge the silliness of the MJF Adam Cole injury. Oh, Adam Cole can take your place, coming back in the ambulance, which was very predictable, and maybe a superhuman effort by MJF to win the match and retain the title. But aside from that, part of watching wrestling is, yes, suspending your disbelief, but you are going to see plenty of things that don't make sense. We saw 16 things that didn't make sense on Raw tonight. Like why Priest and Rhea didn't have that conversation earlier in the day instead of on camera. And why Cody's waiting until showtime to call the guy that's going to help him out when he could have called him last week. That type of thing. I don't really have too much of a problem with it. Maybe it was a little overbooked, but I think the match held up. And when you look at why they did it, it wasn't just like the Swerve and Hangman match. It wasn't violence for the sake of violence. There was a reason for the violence. And MJF and Jay White, it wasn't overbooking for the sake of overbooking. AEW was trying to cast doubt in the fans' mind on a very, very predictable main event. Nobody had Jay White winning this thing. So everybody knew, for the most part, MJF's going to win and regain and retain at the same time the Triple B. So add some doubt, throw some curveballs in there, add another dimension, take him out of the match, possibly replace him, make the fans think he's not even going to be there, and have the big dramatic entrance. Maybe they could have gotten a little creative than just doing the ambulance thing, but I think placing doubt in the fans' mind was the point there, and that's why they did it. So again, I got no issue with it. And everything from what I could gather, the 44% of the show that I saw looked tremendous. And yeah, AEW hits another pay-per-view home run. And they're going to be at it again, World's End, right at the end of December. And that should be a pretty big card as well. So what do y'all have to say about it? I think that's the end of my notes, really. I just wanted to talk about Raw and recap Full Gear. Let's cruise here to the chat and see if you guys have anything fun to say. Mike, I do feel bad for Sheeta, though. Each one of her reigns ended kind of I thought Sheeta did a great job selling all that, though, against Toni Storm. Sheeta did her part. Sheeta's a pro, She knew she was going to go out there and lose, and she did everything she could to make Toni Storm look as fabulous, good, and ridiculous as possible. And I think Cheetah deserves a lot of credit for that. Yeah, she's had her runs end kind of weird, but she is a multi-time champion in AEW, and she will go down as one of the big parts of their beginning, establishing the, quite frankly, pretty weak women's division. B+, Max giving it. I can live with that. Convoluted, isn't it? Yep. Yeah, good point, Doug, on funny. I didn't like that either. I didn't like the CM Punk and Moxley angle very much, whatever they were trying to do there. But the leg angle was just as bad as that. Maybe, I guess so. I didn't hate the leg angle. I might have just executed it a little bit different or added a different twist to it or something. It just got the fact where I really went off the rails for me is Tony Khan allowing Adam Cole to participate. I would have rather just not had that at all. I would have rather it been the main event is just going to be Tony Khan awarding the belt to Jay White. Like, don't do that segment in the middle of the show where Cole comes out. Just have the main event. Wait until then. Have everybody come out, and then the announcer's about to present Jay White as the new champion, and then you have the ambulance hit, and you don't even do the Cole replacement. That was the weird part, but I did appreciate them changing the graphic. Good stuff. Ooh, Colin, good point. Priest needs to do it now. I'm a big advocate for Priest winning the title at Survivor Series. Then you can do a program with Balor going into WrestleMania. And that's part of the reason why I kind of but floated the idea that maybe Randy Orton could turn heel or something in the match. Like if he RKOs Seth Rollins and then Damian Priest takes advantage of that and cashes in, then you could do an Orton-Seth feud. And Priest can move on to a different feud instead of having to continue his shit with Rollins. But there probably still is going to have to be a rematch there, I would assume. But yeah, I'd be fine with Priest and Balor for the title at WrestleMania. That would be fun. See if you guys have anything interesting to mention. Yeah, a lot of people have been mentioning, I think we have as well, Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Again, that one would feel predictable. Feel like they'd be bringing Brock in just to put Gunther over, but that might not be so bad either. I really hope they don't have Brock win and then they have a rematch and Gunther wins. I feel like that Gunther should just beat Brock, but I don't know if I want to see that. I mean, it would be great. They've already teased it in the Rumble and stuff, but is Brock going to agree to come in and do a one-off loss to Gunther? I think if Brock comes back, he's going to have to be there for some bit of time. And you can't just have him come in, get his ass kicked, and leave. There has to be more to his run than that. So maybe he gets a lot of advantages on Gunther in the build, the contract signing. He beats the shit out of him. He attacks him on Raw a couple times and, makes the fans believe that, holy shit, Gunther now has found someone bigger and stronger and better than him, and make it all about that, where Gunther is actually going into the match an underdog. If they can somehow accomplish that, then maybe. I don't know. Shit, man. Maybe. No, I want it to be Gable. I want it to be Chad Gable. But, what if Gunther, Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 88, Beefcake got hurt, and he just, bring anybody out here. And out came the Warrior. What if there's like a championship match between Gunther and Chad Gable scheduled? And they do an injury thing to Gable, and Gable's knocked out. And Gunther comes out to the ring. He goes, I've beaten everybody on this roster. They're even putting guys that I beat 3 times in there against me. There's literally no one left. I will forever be the Intercontinental Champion. And maybe he even says, like, I want to retire the belt or something. Because nobody can beat me for it. It's no point in me having it anymore. The Intercontinental Championship ceases to exist. It's over now. And then Brock Lesnar's music hits. And he comes out. Gunther's caught off guard. I don't want to see a squash here like a Kofi squash, but maybe Brock beats Gunther pretty quick. Now, again, think back to Goldberg and Brock. Once you're an established monster, you can take a loss. It's cool. It's not a big deal. And Brock allowed Goldberg to smash him down at Survivor Series and beat him in that squash, which is still pretty amazing when you think about it. And Brock could come and do the same thing to Gunther. This time Gunther's the young one and Brock's the old dog, like it was with Goldberg and Brock at Survivor Series. And maybe he beats Gunther very quickly. Gunther's not prepared to wrestle a beast, loses the Intercontinental Championship to Brock Lesnar, and then you booked a rematch at WrestleMania. Champion Brock Lesnar versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, and Gunther beats Brock clean, wins back his Intercontinental title. And then after that, you do another match with Gable, who got injured at the hands of Imperium. Hey, you knocked me out of that match. You still owe me one. And then fucking Backlash in France. It's Gable. It's Gunther. Gable wins. Well, no. Will Gunther have they'll probably have a warm ovation in France. They're going to Germany too, though, aren't they? Isn't there a Bash in Berlin show coming up there? So maybe, something like that happens. That would be fun. But I feel like Brock and Gunther, I don't want it just to be like Brock and Omos, where you just knew Brock was probably going to beat Omos. Nothing was really telling you that Omos was going to win. So maybe I don't want it to be the same thing. I don't want Brock just to come in and he's going to lose. He's just making an appearance. Hi, guys. Coming in to lose real quick. I want it to be more. And I think Brock should have some moments of domination over Gunther as well, because Brock's no pussycat, I've been saying that one of the reasons I don't believe CM Punk is going to be at Survivor Series is because there's really no place for him. I would wait if I was WWE. I talked about this. CM Punk would be perfect for the Raw after Mania, if you ask me. Mike brings up a good point. If Punk were to come back on Survivor Series, he could come out at the end of the match, GTS Seth Rollins, allowing Priest to cash in. And then the same scenario I talked about with Randy Orton RKOing Seth, it could be CM Punk doing it, and then you got Seth and Punk at WrestleMania. But again, I don't think you're having CM Punk and Randy Orton come back on the same match. I just don't see it. So I am not seeing CM Punk this Saturday. I just don't believe he's going to be there. But I think in the future, anything can happen. Hell, I even think at Survivor Series, anything could happen. I just feel like odds are Punk would not be there. That's why they announced Randy Orton tonight. We didn't see him in the flesh. They just announced him to hopefully get the fans' mind off of that a little bit. So if they still brought in Punk, aside from a scenario like that, I don't know where he'd fit in. So anyway, that should do it for me tonight. I've been talking for a long time. 2 hours we went on this podcast. Not bad. Not bad. Max, I hope so. I hope the AEW Continental title trophy will be like a trophy like the Owen belt, because again, with the too many belts, I don't think it needs to be out there. I think maybe after you win the tournament, maybe you bring it out on TV for the first couple of weeks, but eventually you don't. But I don't know how it's going to work. It's not like the King of the Ring where you get the actual trophy. They're going to be giving you a belt here. And there's already, enough championships as it is, especially with integrating the Ring of Honor titles, Oh, that's right. That's right. Gunther has visa issues. He cannot travel apparently outside of the United States for 6 months. I forgot about that. So he can't be at Backlash, which maybe could be indication that he is going to, in fact, drop the Intercontinental title before those shows come. So that's even more reason to have Gunther lose to Chad Gable at the Royal Rumble. And if they did that, if it was Gunther and Gable for the title, for the IC title at the Royal Rumble, would Gunther still be in the Royal Rumble? Would both guys still be in the Rumble? Or would Gunther just sit out the Rumble? I wouldn't mind that, because then that way, at least you don't have to factor him into the finish. It was Cody and Gunther were the final two last year. I've kind of always thought they were going to go with the same final two again. Maybe this time with Gunther winning, but if they went with the same final two again, then it would be Cody dumping over Gunther again. So I feel like you'd have to get Gunther out earlier to where he's not there at the end, or don't put him in the match at all. And that's what I would do if Gunther's not the plan to win, then I'd keep him as far away from the match or the finish of the match as possible, as to not, feel like he got screwed again or something. So anyway, we will see. But I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. It's been awesome. I don't think I'm going to see you before Turkey Day, so you guys have a great Thanksgiving this week. I'm probably going to hit the channel with some mic drops. I'm overdue with some of those. I'm working on some reactions right now for Patreon, which is also a lot of fun. And we will be back this coming Friday. I haven't put the link up yet, but check back on the channel. Probably by tomorrow it'll be up. And we'll be predicting Survivor Series. We will also recap this Wednesday's AEW Dynamite as well. So we'll talk about that on Friday. And then this Saturday, we're going to be live reacting to Survivor Series 2023 War Games live right here on YouTube. So join me. We'll hang out all night together, watch the show, drink some cold ones, maybe get naked. We'll see what happens. And then unfortunately, this Sunday, we will not be here for a classic watch along because I have a family engagement. So that's the deal there. Thanks for being here, guys. Happy holidays to you. Have a great Turkey Day if you live here in the States. And if you don't live here in the United States, just laugh at all of us being pigs, eating the most disgusting food possible on Thursday. Have a laugh. We're a little bit ridiculous. You guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.